Open your kitchen cabinet. Seriously. Picture it. The coffee on your counter. The frozen pizza in your freezer. The cereal your kid eats before school. The food in your dog's bowl. Now here's the part most people never realize. There's a high chance a single company made all of it. In 2023, Nestle generated over $93 billion in revenue. It operates in 186 countries. It owns more than 2,000 brands. And every single day, it sells over 1 billion products. 1 billion in a single day. You might recognize the names: Kit Kat, Nescafe, Gerber, Purina, DiGiorno, Coffee Mate, Perrier, Lean Cuisine. Different categories, different packaging, different price points, but the same parent company. You think you are buying coffee, frozen food, bottled water, and pet care from separate brands competing for your money. In reality, you are feeding the same system over and over again. Nestle is not just a food company. It is one of the largest consumer empires on Earth, and it is already inside your home. The question is not whether you have bought from them. The real question is, how much of your daily life runs through a single corporate pipeline without you ever noticing? Walk into an American supermarket. Stand in the coffee aisle. On one shelf, you see Nescafe. A few feet away, you see Starbucks packaged coffee. Different logos, different colors, different identities. In 2018, Nestle paid $7.15 billion for the rights to sell Starbucks packaged coffee globally. 2 brands, 1 owner, now moved to bottled water: Poland Spring, Perrier, San Pellegrino. They look like competitors fighting for shelf space. They are not. Head to the frozen food section. DiGiorno, Lean Cuisine, Stouffer's, different recipes, different marketing campaigns, same corporate parent. Walk to baby food, Gerber. If you have children, that brand probably feels personal, trusted, familiar, still Nestle. This is the illusion most consumers live inside. You think you are choosing between brands. In reality, you are choosing between labels owned by the same empire. You can switch packaging. You can switch flavors. But you are not switching ownership. And when one company controls thousands of products across every major food category, competition starts to look more like choreography. This empire did not appear by accident. It was built deliberately, one acquisition at a time, over more than 150 years. In 1867, Henri Nestlé introduced an infant cereal formula designed to reduce child mortality. It solved a real problem. That early success gave the company something far more valuable than profit. It gave it trust. By 1905, Nestlé merged with the Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Company. That merger consolidated dairy production across Europe and expanded its control over milk supply, one of the most essential daily food categories in the world. Milk is not seasonal. It is not optional. It is habitual. Fast forward to 1985. Nestlé acquired Carnation for $3 billion. That move strengthened its dominance in evaporated milk, coffee creamers, and shelf-stable dairy across American households. 3 years later, in 1988, Nestlé bought Rowntree for $4.5 billion. That deal brought Kit Kat and other global confectionery brands under its control. Chocolate is not a necessity, but it is emotional, it is impulsive, it is high margin. Then came 2018. Nestlé paid $7.15 billion for the global rights to sell Starbucks packaged coffee. Coffee is consumed daily by over 60% of American adults. It is not a treat. It is a ritual. Control milk. Control chocolate. Control baby food. Control coffee. Control the morning. Control the lunchbox. Control dessert. Control the late-night snack. Over time, this was not just expansion. It was strategic placement inside the routines that repeat every single day. To understand the real power of this empire, you have to look beyond the brands. You have to look at the system behind them. Nestlé operates more than 340 factories worldwide. That means it does not just design products. It manufactures them at massive scale. It is also one of the largest buyers of cocoa in the world. Cocoa sourced heavily from West Africa, including Ivory Coast and Ghana, two countries that supply more than 60% of global cocoa production. When you control the raw ingredient, you influence the entire chocolate category. The same applies to coffee. Nestle sources coffee beans globally and processes them through its own supply chain infrastructure. That scale allows it to negotiate pricing, control margins, and secure distribution dominance. Then comes marketing. In recent years, Nestle has spent roughly $7 to $8 billion annually on advertising and marketing. That is more than the total revenue of many mid-sized food companies. Now add distribution. Major American retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Kroger carry extensive Nestle portfolios across multiple aisles. When a company occupies shelf space in frozen food, bottled water, pet care, baby food, and coffee, it becomes extremely difficult for smaller brands to compete for visibility. This is not just brand ownership. It is vertical integration, from cocoa farms in West Africa to supermarket checkout lanes in Texas, from coffee plantations in Latin America to kitchen counters in California. Nestlé is present at both ends of the transaction. And when one company controls the ingredient, the factory, the marketing budget, and the shelf space, competition starts to narrow long before the consumer even walks into the store. Scale brings power, but it also brings scrutiny. In the 1970s, Nestlé became the center of one of the largest global consumer boycotts in history. The issue was infant formula marketing in developing countries. Critics argued the company promoted formula as superior to breastfeeding in regions where clean water was not reliably available. When powdered formula is mixed with contaminated water, infant mortality risk increases. The backlash grew so large that in 1981, the World Health Organization adopted the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes. The code was designed to restrict how formula companies could advertise worldwide. A corporate marketing strategy had triggered a global public health policy response. Then came cocoa. In 2005, former child laborers from Mali filed a lawsuit in U.S. federal court against major chocolate companies, including Nestlé. The claim was that companies knowingly benefited from forced child labor in West African cocoa farms. The legal battle lasted 16 years and reached the U.S. Supreme Court in 2021. The case was dismissed on jurisdictional grounds, meaning the court ruled the claims could not proceed under U.S. law. It did not declare the supply chain clean. It declared the court not the venue. Then there is water. In Michigan, Nestlé faced public opposition for pumping groundwater for bottled water operations. Residents questioned how a multinational corporation could extract millions of gallons annually from public aquifers while paying relatively small permitting fees. Water that falls from the sky, bottled, sold back. These events do not prove a single narrative, but they show a pattern. When a corporation operates at global scale, its decisions do not stay corporate. They become social. Now we need to talk about how these products are engineered. Not cooked, engineered. Take a bottled iced coffee sold in American supermarkets. Many contain between 30 and 40 grams of sugar in a single serving. The American Heart Association recommends a maximum of 36 grams of added sugar per day for men and 25 grams for women. So one bottle can exceed the full daily recommendation. Now look at a frozen dinner. Some popular frozen meals contain 800 to 1,100 milligrams of sodium. The FDA recommends limiting sodium to 2,300 milligrams per day. One meal can deliver nearly half that limit. Add a snack bar with 15 grams of sugar. Add a chocolate bar with another 20 grams. None of these products look extreme on their own. But most people do not eat just one product from one category. They consume multiple products across the same corporate portfolio in a single day. Breakfast coffee, frozen lunch, afternoon snack, dessert. The numbers accumulate quietly. Food scientists use controlled testing to find what is known as the bliss point. This is the precise ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that maximizes pleasure while keeping the product craveable. Too little stimulation, and consumers do not return. too much, and it feels overwhelming. Right in the middle, it drives repeat purchases. Nestle spends billions annually on research and development. That includes sensory testing labs, consumer data modeling, and formula optimization. These products are not accidental combinations of ingredients. They are mathematically adjusted to increase the probability that you will buy them again next week. And that design does not stop at taste. It continues inside the brain. So what happens inside your brain when you eat these products? When you consume high levels of sugar and fat, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical. It is a learning signal. It tells your brain, remember this. Do it again. The more consistently a behavior triggers dopamine, the stronger the habit loop becomes. Cue, consumption, reward, repeat. Over time, something subtle happens. Your brain adapts. Researchers call this reward downregulation. The same amount of stimulation produces a weaker response. That means you need slightly more to achieve the same level of satisfaction. A little sweeter, a little saltier, a slightly larger portion. This is not about willpower. It is about neurobiology. Now zoom out to the population level. According to the CDC, more than 42% of American adults are classified as obese. Diet-related chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes and heart disease, have risen steadily over the past decades. Children are even more sensitive to reward conditioning. Early exposure to highly processed, high-sugar foods can shape taste preferences long-term. When a product is engineered to maximize repeat consumption, and the brain is wired to reinforce rewarding behaviors, the system feeds itself. You believe you are making individual choices, but your brain is responding to a design optimized for repetition. And when that pattern repeats across millions of households, it stops being personal. It becomes structural. Now let's talk about money, because habits are not just biological, they are financial. According to data from the USDA, the average American household spends roughly $7,200 per year on food at home. Not restaurants, groceries. Now let's make a conservative assumption. If 30% of that spending goes toward products owned by Nestle across coffee, frozen meals, snacks, bottled water, and pet food, that equals $2,160 per year. $2,160. Now stretch that over time. Over 10 years, that becomes $21,600. Over 20 years, it becomes $43,200. That is before inflation. That is before price increases. Now add health costs. The American Diabetes Association estimates that people with diagnosed diabetes incur about $3,000 per year in additional medical expenses directly attributed to the condition. If diet-related disease contributes even partially to long-term health outcomes, and you factor in $3,000 per year over 20 years, that is another $60,000. $43,200 in direct grocery flow, $60,000 in potential health-related impact. That is over $100,000 across 2 decades. And this is not a one-time purchase like a car. This is daily consumption, small transactions, repeated thousands of times. You pay once at the register, and possibly again at the clinic. When multiplied across millions of households, the system is not just profitable, it is extraordinarily durable. So what do you actually do with this? This is not about outrage. It is not about trying to eliminate one corporation from your life overnight. It is about shifting leverage back to yourself. First, reduce frequency. If even 30% of your $7,200 annual grocery budget flows into ultra-processed categories, cutting that portion in half changes the math. That alone could redirect over $1,000 per year. Over 20 years, that is $20,000 back under your control. Second, replace convenience with ingredients. Instead of buying a frozen meal engineered for shelf life and repeat purchase, buy the raw components. Rice, vegetables, protein, the margin shifts away from formulation and toward food. Costum. Third, pay attention to ownership. Not every brand on the shelf is independent, but some are regional. Some are smaller scale. When consumers reward alternatives consistently, distribution patterns change. You do not have to fight the system emotionally, you change it economically, because the empire runs on repetition, and repetition runs on habit. The moment you interrupt that loop, even slightly, the equation shifts, not in one day, but over years. And when millions of households adjust their patterns, markets eventually follow demand. Understanding the system is not about fear, it is about clarity, and clarity changes behavior.